everybody and welcome to the presentation of our project. My name is Victoria and I'm a part of the group who work with Samrat from HES-SO Institute in Nepal. During 4 months, we had the chance to develop a marketing project to help a Dalit community. Thanks to this project, I got in touch with a Dalit village and I want to share with you what I learned about this unique place.
The Nepal society is essentially based on the caste system. This system is strongly linked to the mind of Nepalese. It is not possible to choose a caste. You are born into it. At the bottom of the caste system, there is the Dalit people. Dalits are considered untouchable. People from so-called higher caste do not eat food touched or cooked by Dalit. But, not far away from Damoli, a Dalit community want to break down with this idea of untouchability. They create the first Dalit community homestay. So far, there are currently 11 families registered as host families. The homestay can host around 30 people at a time. Until now, around 100 tourists came to visit the village. During their stay, they are part of their daily life. The tourists can learn as much as the community can learn from them. They are engaged in activities like traditional skills workshop or local farming. The community is very proud to share their culture, their tradition and life. After they stay, the tourists can spread this knowledge, but also the circumstance the community lives in. It is important that tourists discover the real life in Nepal and not just stay in the tourist side. The community finds a way to help themselves out of misery. They work together because together they are strong. The homestay have disturbed some of the socio-cultural establishment. The independent establishment of this community homestay has proven that Dalits are capable of self-improvement. At a larger scale, it is an example to inspire marginalized communities to understand that economic opportunities, including tourism, need not always belong to the rich and powerful. This success will inspire 3 million Dalits spread all over South Asia to realize that they will not always remain untouchable and the world is ready to accept Dalits. It will break a tradition.
Hello everybody, my name is Mara. During the time we worked on the project, I had a chance to get to know more about the community-based struggle and became aware of the fact that different indicators play quite an important role. To share my insights with you, I will first start talking about the conscious travel approach in general and then take a closer look to the indicators we choose for our project. The conscious travel approach by Anna Pollock was of great importance for us during the course. Tourists have to be aware that with the idea of mass tourism, they do more harm than good. This approach should help to preserve the environmental and cultural resources, to minimize waste, and to create a holiday host communities as well as tourists can benefit from. The conscious travel approach in general focuses on 3 different aspects. First of all, it is a new model or approach to destination and business development. Moreover, this new model should be shared through a community-based and collaborative action learning program, and last but not least, the conscious travel needs to be implemented in a global network of self-determining destination communities. Those communities should of course be able to implement tourism as something positive which sustains the development of the community. With regards to our project, we perceive the stated indicators as very useful for the further development of this project. First of all, I want to start talking about the indicator relationship, which from our perspective is the main indicator for this project. In order to develop tourism in this community further, all community members in the Dalit village, as well as the tourists going to this village, should be willing to interact, work together, collaborate and co-create. Of course, all this cannot happen at the same time, but needs to be developed further over the upcoming years. For the tourists coming to the village, it is a totally new world and they first have to handle the new living conditions. To ensure the interaction and the communication regarding the most important things will therefore be a big achievement. For instance, tourists should be provided with a basic knowledge of words like help, water or spider beforehand. Since the tourists are involved in the daily life of the village during their stay, they will work together and the different parties can learn from each other. To collaborate and to co-create will be another important step and might only be achieved when the tourists return to Nepal for several times after their first stay. To build up relationships is also a matter of trust and time. A relationship needs to be developed over a certain period of time. For the tourists, it will be a completely new world and they first have to be familiar with the new way of living. Even though several tourists already found their way to Nepal, it will always be a new experience for the community. The inhabitants should take the chance and turn this also into a unique experience for themselves, because they can develop new relationships with the tourists. In a second step, I want to have a closer look to the self-awareness, which we have chosen as another indicator. The community has a clear sense of place and knows that the notion of untouchable village is something unique in Nepal. The host community is really proud that they are on a par with the tourists and can cook, eat, sing and share unique experience with them. In order to improve this experience even more, it would make a huge difference if the community and the tourists could communicate on a very basic level. We identified this as a major problem, but my colleague Jasmine will talk about our solution in greater detail later on. Last but not least, there is the meaning and sense of purpose. The community is really aware that tourism can help them a lot to develop further and wishes for new possibilities to open up for them. In case they receive enough funding or will earn enough money from tourism, they will be able to build a community hall. This is the favorite project of Samrat because in this hall they can offer various possibilities and activities for the community as well as provide further accommodation for the tourists. Hence, the community really knows the advantages of tourism in this area. They strive for creating a holistic experience for the tourists within the bounds of possibility.
Hello everybody, my name is Jasmine. During the communication with Samrat, both parties came across the idea of producing a marketing video in order to attract NGOs. That is why we came up with a marketing plan. In this part, I will talk about the advices and recommendations we came up with for this project.
The advices and recommendations I will talk about here are about the language barrier between the community and the tourists. The issue is that the only hosts who speak English are some children, but it is a real problem because the adults of the community and the tourists cannot communicate together. This is because of this problem that we came up with the idea of creating a booklet. This booklet should provide the most important information about the country, the community, the host family, and how to behave, for example. And as you can see in the booklet example here, they will have some basic words and sentences too. This booklet should be given to the tourists before they come to the community. With this tool, the guests can familiarize with the important facts and words to make sure that the tourists learn the new words and have a look at the document we send them. An email will be sent to them with a short language test so that they can practice and see their Nepali level. Since the pronunciation is always perceived very hard, we will link an audio file into the booklet document. The tourists can use this audio file to learn the pronunciation of the Nepali words. In addition to the words and information given in the booklet, some pictures of the community and the area will be in the document. If they learn the words, it will be a nice gesture to show that they want to try to communicate in a better way. This will also help to abolish frontier and to connect with the hosts. We talked about the tourists learning new Nepali words and information, but it is also a good point if the community learn new words in English too. For that, we thought of producing cards with the most important Nepali words and sentences and translate them in English. The right pronunciation will be indicated as well as pictures of the item. This will then be a win-win situation for the community and the guests, since they can learn and benefit from each other and get in touch with a new language. The communication won't necessarily be a barrier anymore. Moreover, a language class should be arranged at the first day of the stay of the tourists. New words will be taught to the guests. It is also possible that someone external who is responsible for the interaction of the tourist and the community come in the community. This person could have the task of observing the interaction between the host and the guests and measure how successful is the communication between the two parties. This success can be measured by observing the body language and how often people smile or shake hands when they interact with each other. After the trip, Hands-On Institute should send a feedback request to the participants in order to find out if there are some things to improve and to know if the tourists were lacking some important words to communicate with the community. The missing words could be added to the booklet.
To summarize, this whole project is a really great project since it focuses on the people instead of the caste system, and it is a step in the right direction in order to escape this caste system. The group has no doubt to make this community a well-known place for tourists and to enrich their lives through unique and formative experiences.